Germany. You know, political issues aside, it's just a more interesting gameplay. Germany was at the heart of a lot of interesting things, right or wrong, in World War II. So I enjoy playing that. So that's what we're going to do today. So can we use smart strategy? This is going to be a series to take over the world, playing as Germany. So that's what we're going to do. Here we go. We're going to have historical AI focuses turned off. So what that means is we're going to have more random events that are going to happen. Things are going to happen outside of timelines. Things are going to happen that are going to surprise us. People who normally wouldn't become allies will become allies, etc., etc. So it kind of makes things a little more interesting. Let's look at the custom game rules. Alright, so these are buffs you can use to just tweak one country or another. We're not going to use those. We're going to leave everything as far as the AI behavior to the defaults. Okay, we're going to make war goals always free so people can attack when they want to attack. Faction. Coups boosting party popularity. Okay. Alright, we're going to go back. We're going to keep those changes into effect. We're going to go with regular difficulty because I haven't played this game for a while. And let's jump into it. Alright, we're generating graphics. Here we go, day one. So let's start out with selecting our national focus. Okay, we definitely want to start with the Rhineland. So we're going to do that. And we need to look at our construction. Super critical that we make the most of what we have here. So we're going to start out by really trying to maximize our civilian manufacturing early on. Let's go ahead and maximize our civilian production first, and then over time we'll be switching over to military factory production. But it's good to get an early buff in, especially with Germany. We got heavy manufacturing already, so we need to maximize that as much as we can early on in the game. there we go. So we maximized our production here. We're going to be doing obviously more building later, but that's a good intro. We're just really going to push building as much civilian infrastructure as we can here. Let's pick our research. Right, we're definitely going to go with construction 1. And we're going to go with basic machine tools to start us out here. Thanks to everybody who's joining our stream. If you have any questions in the game, let me know. I have over 1,000 hours in it, but I haven't played this game in over a year, so I might be a little rusty, but hopefully I can answer your questions as we play. These extra research slots that Germany has is definitely a nice bonus early on in the mission. So we have 3 military factories. So we're going to make sure we're building lots of support equipment. We're going to be building artillery. We're definitely going to be building out our light tanks because that's the heart of early German warfare. There's a misconception that Germany always used heavy tanks. Early on in the war, they actually used a lot of lighter tanks as being the spearheads of their advances. Another thing we want to make sure we're going to gear up for eventually is building up our Air Force, particularly important early on in the game. Alright, now one thing that really I've never found particularly useful in gameplay is the submarines. So we're going to let whatever is currently being produced go. So we're just going to produce 1 set of submarines here. Just not a big part of my gameplay. Destroyers, on the other hand, we want to build infinite amounts of destroyers. And heavy cruisers and battleships, we'll let them build as well. Eventually we're going to definitely expand our navy. It's one of the things that the German military really didn't take advantage of, is the fact that they could really project power with a full navy, which is something we're definitely going to get around to doing. That's going to happen later. So let's increase the capacity for our submarines, or for our destroyers, and our heavy surface ships. We'll get around to specifying that later. Alright, let's look at our basic infantry. This is something that we're definitely going to want to expand, as you can imagine. So we're going to build 5 sets of infantry. Right now it's going to be on continuous build, and we're going to figure out where we're going to put them a little later. Now Panzer divisions, we're also going to build 2 of those for now, and 2 motorized infantry divisions. Again, we're going to expand on that, but we're going to start out with a relatively light building of the military. Not a huge start because we're working on building up that military infrastructure before we start pounding out units. So we'll do that a little later. Okay. Right, we don't have to worry about our military units just yet. So we're not going to deal with that. So we're going to leave that alone for now. We're not going to worry about the unassigned decisions available. We don't have any military. Okay. In order to fund for our growing industry and to keep this secret from British and French eyes, we've been forced to use a balance sheet entry to route payments to and from on promissory notes. If we do not use our political connections to extend the due dates of these notes, will we be forced to repay them and no longer receive their benefits? Okay, so that's something we'll have to deal with in 179 days, something we definitely want to keep going. All right, so that's the basic setups. We're not going to worry about military intrigue right now. We need to build up our strength. Right now, in 1936, Germany is actually less powerful than France and England, and probably roughly on par with the United States right now. So we got a lot of growth to go. Poland, we're actually probably about a third stronger than, but still not enough to engage in military activities right now. So let's just let some time pass. As we gain political will, one of our goals is going to be especially strong is to keep the United States out of the conflicts. So one of the ways you can do that is to turn them into a nationalist country, just like Germany. Not a lot of things for us to do. Oh, okay, let's look at our military resources. Biggest thing we need is oil. Alright, so one way we can get them to be on America to like us is to really make them a serious trading partner for us. So let's go ahead and get all of our oil from the United States. That will pay off dividends later. What else do we have a negative resource on? Okay. We need rubber. Rubber is very important. So for now, we can actually get that from the Dust West Indies. We'll actually build up a supply. So let's go ahead and get 16 rubbers going, even though we technically only need 5. We're going to need more later. Tungsten, we should definitely try to push that up. Portugal is a good source of tungsten, so let's get that going. That's a good point. I don't want... Alright, so let's reduce this to... There. We're going to have a slight shortage of resources here. Now, one thing we can sell... is we're going to export some of our steel. Not too much, just a little. Alright, that should improve our trade situation. Let's watch that carefully. We're still going to have a deficit when it comes to oil, but it's a short-term issue. We should be okay. All right. Thanks again, everybody who's joining the stream. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Also a reminder for those of you who may have not seen our streams before, we do have a follow giveaway at the end of the month of August. If you follow us, you get entered in for an opportunity to win a free pop. Typically, they're Avengers themed. National focus, Rhineland. Rhineland has been demilitarized since the end of the Great War, but this result can stand no longer. Political power, plus 120. Army experience, plus 5. World tension increased by 5. Okay. So we gotta pick our next item, which is gonna be next item. Alright. I don't want to do air innovation yet. Alright, those are political issues. I want... Alright. Gains national spirit, which grants infrastructure construction speed plus 10%. Plus 10%. Yep, we're gonna go with this right. Can't do that yet. Oh, we need to do the 4-year plan. Okay, 4-year plan. Again, we're focusing on industrial goals right now. Germany stationed troops in the Rhineland territory close to the French border. Clear violation of the Treaty of Versailles. Local population cheered, while the diplomatic reaction was, it's no big deal. Alright, so that's actually very true. Now keep in mind, I've turned off the historical precedents here. So, we're not going to have situations where things are going to be controlled by the game. So at this point, France could have theoretically attacked us, but they chose not to do so, which is very apropos. So let's see. Alright, we can modify our government. We can add a political advisor. We can add an industrial concern. Okay, we're going to add a political advisor right now. Alright, we're going to increase construction speed by 10%. And then we're going to actually go to on the political front here before we forget. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go to United States. We're going to boost party popularity for fascism. Because what we want to do is actually keep the United States out of the war. So boosting fascism, keep in mind that the United States has a very neutral position at the start of this game. So you really have an advantage if you can get them to stay out of the war completely. So that's a good use of our resources, political resources. Okay, don't have to make a decision here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We issued bills or soon. Okay. Current ruling party is not democratic. We can delay payment. Effects in 90 days. Issue a 6 months extension. Following will happen in 90 days. Daily political power cost. Okay. I feel fine with that. Basically, we're just being more open about the fact that we're rearming militarily. So I can live with that. Alright, so one thing we can actually do here is we should go back to our construction queue. And now we actually have the ability to... Oh, we've already maxed out stuff in the Rhineland. Okay. So let's let some time pass here. Construction is going on. Alright, we have unassigned division. Alright, let's move them into the border. Now let's actually take another division. And we'll move it into the border area as well. Just on the off chance that France wants to engage us. Because theoretically, as discussed, we've turned off the historical predispositions. So okay. All right, let's stick with radio. Alright, it's going to take 143 days. Thanks everybody for the follow. I've got Marco Badula 99 has followed. Hey, I'm Spark has followed. Darth Gremlin 1701 has followed. Thank you everybody for the follows. And let's just let some more time pass. Again, we're building up our civilian infrastructure right now. We're trying to use our political leverage to get things pointed in the right direction for us. So another thing Alright, National Spain has declared war on Spain. Alright, so this is the Spanish Civil War event. That's going to increase hostilities. Now, one thing we can do is we can send forces to help nationalist Spain, but it tends to really increase concern in the United States, our concern around the world about war. So we're not going to do that. We're going to stay out of nationalist war on Spain. If they win, they win. If they don't, we'll have an ally. If they don't win, either way, we're going to try to stay under the radar of the world for as long as possible. Okay. Now we should actually go to our recruit and deploy. Let's figure out where we're going to put our troops. Okay, let's pre-position these so we don't have to get alerts later. Alright. So we're going to put some troops, obviously, on the border. Why is it not letting me do that? Click to deploy. Okay. So we're basically going to take half of our forces and we're going to put them on the border with France. We'll take the other half of the forces and put it towards Poland, because eventually we will be moving into Poland. And we're going to put more of our panzers into the area around Poland, along with our motorized infantry, because this will give us the ability to use blitzkrieg down the road, whereas the border with France, I'm more interested, at least initially, with fighting a defensive war. That usually works best. At least until we take a lot of Eastern Europe, and then we'll be turning our sights onto France. Another thing I like to do politically is I want to stir the pot. So one of the things I can do that is I can have these countries in the lowlands here start to turn fascist. And eventually we might be able to turn them into actual allies when it's time for us to attack France. But also, if we do make these guys neutral parties, we can actually ask them for permission to cross into France versus fighting through those countries. So that's another option as well. So again, we're not playing this based on historical precedent. We're making our own decisions here. All right, Ethiopia has capitulated. And we don't have to worry about building a relationship with Italy yet. Ideally, we'll get strong enough that Italy will automatically want to join us. All right, let's go to... All right, let's keep our technology growing. Go with concentrated industry here. It's much more efficient, and as long as we have a strong air force, we shouldn't have to worry about that too much. Okay. Okay, all these units should be deploying themselves. I think it's just telling me we have the option to deploy units early, which we're not going to do. Thanks again for the follows, guys. Just a reminder, if you do follow between now and August, you'll be entered in for a free pop giveaway. Anarchy 10400, thank you for following. Vladwitch Drag, thank you for the follow as well. All right, we've completed the 4-year plan. Let's go over the details of that. We need an ambitious plan to provide for rearmament and ultimate self-sufficiency of the nation. This should be achieved within the next 4 years. Plus 100% research for industry. Available as political advisor. Okay, that's good. Construction speed plus 10%. Civilian factory construction speed plus 10%. Refinery construction field speed plus 10%. Okay, so that's very good for our plans. All right, we're also going to build the west wall, which gives us fortifications along the French border. All right, so we have a political advisor available. All right, captain of the industry. We get that at a discount because we just unlocked that. All right, so our factories are going to be going at a real high clip here, which is great. Really trying to build up our infrastructure. All right, U.S. Congress passes Neutrality Act. U.S. Congress has been... Okay. Let the giant sleep. That's what we want to do. Let's take a look at the United States here. Let's look at them politically. So, politics. Okay, as you can see right now, the Silver Legion of America is 3%, and most of it is 93% Democratic. But that will slowly change because we're promoting the fascists to gain some traction. And there was actually a nationalist movement within the United States that kind of died down once they entered the war. So there is precedent for keeping the United States out of the war as long as we can. Okay. Okay. Alright, we're just letting our country grow and build as much as possible here. Alright, construction 1. Improved methods and materials allow us to construct buildings, both civilian and military, faster. Okay. Do I want to do excavation? Yeah, we'll do excavation. Alright, let's keep our... We're going to work on military technology later, don't worry about that. But we need to maximize our infrastructure as much as possible right now. We can't have enough factories. Remember, normal timelines do not apply. So perfectly happy to let things go as long as possible before we actually engage in war. Now there's going to be certain situations, for example, taking some of this territory through political means and eventually trying to capture Poland. We'll be doing that as well. But there's nothing wrong with us trying to make smart decisions about when we want to engage in those activities, since we're not tied to the historical time. Okay, so now we have the west wall runs parallel to France's vaunted Maginot Line, occupying much of the same ground as the Siegfried Line. Fortifying its defenses will allow us to hold the border with fewer men, freeing up divisions to participate in potential eastern campaigns. Okay, that's a great thing for us to do there. Okay, we're going to continue to take decisions that are going to improve our infrastructure as much as possible right now. See, our construction is going. We're continuing to grow our infrastructure, which is great. We'll probably do that for at least another year or two, and then we'll start working towards building up our military production. All right. Meanwhile, our technology is continuing to expand on schedule. One thing I don't like about this game is they do penalize you if you try to construct things or research things outside of the timeline. You should be able to turn that off, but I haven't figured out how to do that. So we're kind of hamstrung by that. You can still do it, but there's a pretty high penalty if you rush technology too fast in certain areas. Alright, excavation 1 completed. Now we should be able to go on to construction. And We're a little ahead on construction, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Paying a little bit of a penalty there. Because, again, building our infrastructure is the most important thing we can do right now. Because as you can see, the world tension is actually going down right now. Probably because we're not actively involved in helping the Spanish Civil War. Things are starting to calm down. The world doesn't want to get into a war, obviously, so that works to our benefit, and we want to push that as long as possible. Okay, national focus completed. That also allows us to modify the government. Let's go with Joseph Goebbels. We'll use that to increase our political power over time. All right, let's look at our national focus. Okay, again, we're working on our infrastructure tree right now for our national focuses. It will pay off in the long run, so I'm not too worried about that. Concentrated industry one. We're going to go with machine tools. Again, focusing on that infrastructure build as much as possible. Okay, let's go back and look at the United States, because this continues to be a key part of our strategy. Is right, as you can see, the Silver Legion of America is actually taking a pretty strong growth popularity. So what that means is, over time, we can actually turn the United States into a nationalist nation. And as we know, historically, having the United States involved in World War II was one of the largest downfalls for the German people, along with, of course, invading Russia in winter, which is nothing you want to do. Or at least while you're fighting a war in two directions. Big mistake. Also, if we look politically, we're also trying to promote nationalism here in Brussels. Okay, as you can see, that's actually taking a pretty good hold as well. And in the Netherlands as well. So that's exactly what we want. We'd like those countries to come over to our side and become allies with us. That would only benefit us. Let's look at our construction. Again, we're probably going to go until this time next year with really just building out factories as much as we can. And then we'll start switching over to building military factories and expanding our military production. Yes, I know that decision is coming. Alright. Let's keep working down the infrastructure tree. Alright, coastal construction, coastal forts, we don't need that. Alright, so we can build the eastern wall. That's not something I want to do right now. Something we might do later. Okay, so we're going to build out our infrastructure here. Alright, leadership purge in the Soviet Union. All this stuff is kind of happening basically on schedule with the rest of the world. We'll see if things get a little more interesting as we get farther and farther down the alternate timeline where people are not required to do something which they've done historically. Alright, construction. Alright, let's do concentrated industries 2, which allow us to expand our infrastructure, our factories across the board. We want to do that. Alright, lack of civilian factories. Okay, we'll deal with that in a little while. We're building factories at a really high level, so we should have plenty of factories available. We do have to make some decisions on what we want to do politically that'll help us with that as well. So that will be coming soon as we gain some additional political power. Okay, we're short of oil by a pretty good amount. Alright, we're going to have to deal with that before too long. Again, we're not building a huge amount of military equipment right now, so we should be okay in the short term. Once we build the political will, we're going to make some changes that will free up some capacity in our factories. We're going to be doing that momentarily. Once we get enough political will, we're going to make some changes to our economy that will help improve things. Okay, we're building plenty of factories. Yeah, we're going to be changing our economy soon. Okay, we've completed the Autobahn. Change the economy of law to a war economy, which grants consumer goods factories 20%. Military to civilian factory conversion cost minus 20%. Civilian to military. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to start working on our German war economy. That will help us free up some factories for trade in goods and materials. Alright, got approved machine tools. Okay, fuel refining. That's not really going to help me very much. So let's actually put our resources into military technology here. Alright, we're a little too early for some of that stuff, so let's just do with our basic infantry equipment. Alright, let's look at our oil resources. We've got to step this up. Alright, we can't do that right now, unfortunately. Let's see, one thing we can do. I think we're okay right now. We're going to be working on some political solutions sooner rather than later. Okay, we got mechanical computing. Let's go on radar detection, super important. Okay. Alright. No decisions for us to make here, so let's press forward. Let's look at how things are going in the United States. Are they politically turning in our favor? That's what is so important right now. Alright. Okay. Alright, Silver Legion is slowly gaining popularity. It's going to take a while. But even though they're not firmly in control of the United States, it's going to slow how interested they are in getting involved with international decisions. So I think we'll be fine there. Alright, British Parliament debates intervention in Benelux. Having learned from the Great War, the French will not underestimate the strategic value of the Benelux region and the potential risk of seeking enemy countries build influence there. British Parliament has debated okay. So basically, Britain is trying to figure out if they're going to get involved in the politics of the Low Countries here. Right, again, we're going to see things that are a little different from history as we get farther and farther down this alternate timeline. region-wide industrial integration. All right. All right, we're going to change our closed economy. Okay, yeah, we're going to work on, once we get 150 political points, we're going to work to change to a closed economy. That'll free up a lot of resources. There we go, that will help as well. Our great nation's people must be harnessed for the good of the war effort. We will transition to full war economy where every man is expected to do their part. Right, that's nice. Once we get to Poland seeks Baltic cooperation. Following Poland's distancing from international community, Polish politicians have been pursuing the idea of power between the seas. While the hope is great, an alliance stretching from Baltic to the Black Sea, their stated priority remains to reinforce their position against threatening influences both east and west. Okay, that's an interesting development. Again, we're seeing changes outside of the timeline. Okay. Alright, we got some improvements there. Okay, paratroopers. Let's definitely get some paratrooper research going. That's going to be key to some of our strategies. Waiting for that political power to get to 150. So we can use that to our advantage. Okay, concentrated industry, that will also help us as well. Now both of those things, let's wait until we get to that 150 level so we can change our economy. And that will free up a lot of resources. United Kingdom has declared war on the Netherlands. Again, this is very much outside the normal timeline, but it's to our benefit. Very interesting development. So what's going on here politically that they want to attack the Netherlands? They're almost 50-50 fascists, but it's very surprising that they're declaring war against them. Very interesting to see what happens here. Now, one thing we can do politically. You know what? Let's see how this plays out. Let's see if this really becomes a full-blown war against those two entities. That's very interesting. Again, we're seeing things much different than we've seen in the timeline. All right, there we go. Britain is invading. They're being very aggressive here. Right. Netherlands has been puppeted. Okay, Netherlands of Antilles has been liberated. Republic of Suriname was liberated. Okay. All right, very interesting. So now the Netherlands has become, well, there's still fascists, not as much as there were before, but they're now kind of puppets of. All right, so let's keep causing trouble for them. Interesting. All right, so that's a very different development. It's going to change things up a little bit when you think about it. Right, we're going to modify government here. We're going to have a closed we've got a war economy. We're going to do extensive conscription here. Let's look at our factories now. We should have plenty of factories available. Alright, so let's work on our resource issues. Should be able to greatly increase what we buy from the United States. We're going to buy this from the United States too, why not? Alright, we need some steel as well. We'll buy that from the United States. Might as well make them our true trading partner. Alright, we need rubber. Keep that rubber flowing, very important. Okay, that should improve our production substantially. Alright, Amelia Earhart circumnavigates the globe. Again, another alternate timeline. Alright, let's see what's going on with our friends in Belgium here. Are they turning fascist. Yes, that's good. That's what we want. And how about in the United States? Right, 30% fascist. Okay. Definitely moving in the right direction there. Okay, we further increased our industry. That's good. So it's time for us to okay, so we need some more manpower in the field. Use manpower, 540. So we need to get to... we need at least 500,000 manpower in divisions in the field. Okay. Alright, so what we can do now is we can make that happen pretty quickly. Alright, we're gonna deploy some troops. That should give us enough manpower in the field that we can actually start pushing our political will onto Eastern Europe, which is our next stage. Seeing how much we can get without going to war. Let's work on some military doctrine now. Right, I think that's going to be good space for us to stop our stream video, and we'll see you next time as we continue to explore this alternate timeline.